Good evening. You're watching the main news on HKIBC. I'm Sarah Wong. Our top stories tonight. Police maintain a heavy presence in Causeway Bay to deter illegal gatherings on June 4th. COVID infections prompt health authorities to urge 3 more schools to suspend affected classes. And 3 Chinese astronauts prepare to set off on a 6-month mission to the Tiangong space station. Police beefed up security in Causeway Bay today in a bid to ward off any unauthorized June 4th assembly. At least 1 person was arrested as sporting pitches in Victoria Park were sealed off for the 2nd year in a row. Macy Mock reports.
Soccer pitches in Victoria Park remained out of bounds since last night as the authorities sealed off the area to avoid unauthorized assemblies. Basketball courts and the jogging track, as well as 7 entrances along Causeway Road, are also closed until after midnight tonight. Police wearing stab-proof vests patrolled the vicinity. Some young people were stopped and searched, while the personal information of journalists was jotted down. Police also patrolled other areas in Causeway Bay, including the Sogo department store. A former member of the disbanded Hong Kong Alliance, which used to organize June 4 vigils, was stopped by police this afternoon near Sogo. Chu Yan Loy put the white and red roses he was carrying into a bag and left the area. He said he was in Causeway Bay to have a meal with a friend. Police also stopped another man who held 1 white flower. The man said officers told him not to display any slogans. A woman who held a stack of white paper was also stopped. A man was taken into a police vehicle after officers suspected him of carrying tools for illegal use. A man who carried white candles into Victoria Park said he was not afraid of getting arrested because he is suffering from cancer. An 80-year-old man was arrested on Sugar Street for obstructing police from carrying out their duties. Security was tightened after police said they found online messages inciting people to participate in unauthorized June 4th assemblies. Officers warned that anyone taking part in an illegal gathering could be jailed for up to 5 years. Maisie Mock, HKIBC.
3 more schools have been asked to suspend classes following infections on campus, and the nightclub clusters in Central continue to expand with dozens of new infections. Joanna Ho reports.
Health officials reported 5 COVID infections at the Christian and Missionary Alliance Sun K Primary School in Cheung Kwan No today. 4 are students in 1 class, while the 5th is in another class. 3 children from Class N1 at the HKSPC Operation Santa Claus Fanling Nursery School also contracted the virus. Both schools have been advised to suspend the affected classes until next Thursday. A French class in a school in Shek Mun, HKBU affiliated school, Wong Secondary and Primary School, reported 3 cases, a teacher and 2 students. The class was urged to suspend lessons for a week. Meanwhile, 3 more students at the Holy Trinity College in Shek Kip Mei were infected. One of them was linked to the jazz dance class cluster at the school, where 5 students and a teacher fell ill earlier. There were 44 new infections linked to the Link Bar cluster in Central, taking the tally to 65. The Shuffle nightclub cluster also grew, with 28 additional cases, taking the total to 42. Hong Kong added 446 COVID infections today, including 64 imported cases. There was no COVID-related death. Joanna Ho, HKIBC.
Kindergartens have been urged to space out beds to minimize the risk of COVID infections. The advice comes after 2 children who slept close together without masks contracted the virus. Joanna Ho has more.
Pediatric Society head Patrick Yip said kindergartens should enhance anti-epidemic measures so that young pupils who are not supposed to wear masks when napping are protected from COVID. This came after health officials reported 2 infections at the Hong Kong Christian Services Times Nursery School in Wan Chai yesterday. 2 children contracted the virus after sleeping near each other without their masks. Yip said as younger children should not sleep with masks on because their respiratory systems are not fully developed, kindergartens should exercise caution.
When children need to remove their mask, they need to ensure that children will be kept at a certain distance. And also with some protection, like having some plastic cover or having their teachers to accompany the children all the time, so that every time when the children are waking up or looking for adults, they would be able to offer help.
Yip also suggested that kindergartens keep beds apart to minimize transmission risks. Speaking on a radio program this morning, he referred to a suspected transmission among members of a Yuen Long Secondary School basketball team, whose infected coach was linked to the central nightclub cluster. Yip said students should avoid having their mask off for too long during PE lessons, except when running or doing exercises which raise the heart rate. He also suggested that kindergartens ask the Education Bureau to help arrange on-site vaccinations so that more students can receive jabs. Joanna Ho, HKIBC.
A couple have been arrested on suspicion of murdering their 14-month-old daughter. Police rushed to Pek Heng in Yuen Long after receiving a call from the baby's grandfather last night. The baby's body was found wrapped in a towel on the floor of a village house. She was believed to have died between 1 and 3 days ago. Officers found suspected nail scratches on her neck, while her head, face, and upper body showed signs of discoloration and swelling. The baby's 33-year-old father and 32-year-old mother claim to be unemployed. The father has a record of mental illness. Police are investigating the couple's relationship with the baby and the cause of her death and have classified the case as serious violence and child abuse. A man has been badly burned in an explosion at a laundry on Bonham Road in the mid-levels. Firefighters rushed to the scene after being alerted. Police said the blast occurred when a 41-year-old man was changing a tank containing LPG gas, which is used to operate a dryer in the shop. Sparks triggered by a suspected gas leakage burned the man's face, arms, and legs. He was rushed to hospital for treatment. China's Shenzhou 14 spacecraft is set to blast off tomorrow, with the crew tasked to continue building the country's first space station. The first Chinese woman in space is among the 3 astronauts taking part in the 6-month mission. Astronauts Chen Zhong, Liu Yang, and Cai Shuzhe took the stage at the Jingchuan Satellite Launch Center in northwestern China. The trio are set to take Beijing's space ambition another step forward. At 10:44 a.m. tomorrow, they will blast off on board the Shenzhou 14 spacecraft and spend the next 6 months building the Tiangong space station. 43-year-old Chen is leading the mission that will transform Tiangong into a T-shaped structure with 2 more laboratories. We've known each other for 12 years and were trained side by side for the past 2.5, Chen said. We are confident that we will complete the mission astonishingly. The spotlight was on Liu, China's first female astronaut, who spent 13 days at the nation's first space laboratory 10 years ago. The 43-year-old could barely hide her excitement to fly into space again. It will be the first space mission for the 3rd crew member, Cai, but he has been preparing for this moment for 12 years. The astronauts will attach lab modules Wenqian and Mengqian, which are due to arrive by October, to the Tianhe core module. At the end of their mission in December, astronauts on the Shenzhou 15 probe will join them for a historic crew handover in space. A mudslide in southwestern China has caused the derailment of a high-speed train, killing the driver and injuring 8 people. Several carriages slammed into a station platform near Rongjiang County this morning. The train was traveling from Guiyang, capital of Guizhou Province, to Guangzhou. 7 passengers and an attendant were sent to hospital for non-life-threatening injuries. The other 136 passengers were safely evacuated. Russian President Vladimir Putin has vowed not to block Ukrainian grain exports as the world grapples with rising food insecurity. The United Nations warned that a conflict in Ukraine could aggravate acute food shortages, especially in poor countries. Russia's war in Ukraine has not only caused deaths and destruction, it has also sent shockwaves across the global food market. The United Nations warned that a conflict could further exacerbate the food crisis amid raging inflation and soaring energy costs.
For this year, so the season 2021-2022, the gap that we have in wheat right now is 3 million metric tons, and the gap that we have in maize is 12 million metric tons because of the war in Ukraine.
Dubbed as the world's food basket, Ukraine and Russia provide more than 1/3 of the wheat imported by African and developing countries. That made the pain of food shortages especially acute in poor nations still reeling from the shock of the pandemic. Russian President Vladimir Putin tried to comfort leaders of the African Union as cereal prices soar in the world's poorest continent. He denied contributing to the crisis by blocking Ukrainian agricultural exports, but blamed the West's economic mismanagement. Putin pledged to ensure that ships loaded with Ukrainian grain and fertilizers can leave the ports under Russian control without preconditions. But that alone is not expected to resolve the crisis, as inequality is rising in some impoverished societies threatened by climate change. On to the weather now. Tomorrow will be hot with sunny periods and a few showers. Temperatures range between 28 and 32 degrees. Cloudy with showers and squally thunderstorms on Monday and Tuesday. Now let's take a look at the weather around the world. That's our main news for Saturday night. Join me for the late news at 11. I'm Sarah Wong. Good evening.